Hello and welcome back once again to the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast. This is episode 233. Jon and Wendy talk to each other again. I'm your host, Jon.
And I'm Wendy. How are you, Jon?
Wendy, I'm doing well, and it is the end of August. Happy that this episode is once again being sponsored by our pals over at Namely.
Yes. Thank you, Namely. Always excited to work with them and continue to promote the great work that they are doing.
We've certainly got more to come with them before the end of the year. That's just a little spoiler for the next mini episodes. Make sure that you check out namely.com/HR Social Hour. You sign up. First month is free. Everybody knows we're big fans of them, and we hope you'll check them out. Now, some of you are probably wondering, why are you talking to each other and not to somebody else?
Because we get to do what we want. No.
We do get to do what we want. And it is a very fair question. Wendy, I contacted you a few days ago and said, hey, I'd like to do a catch-up because we haven't talked. There's been a lot going on I'd like to talk about, and I don't know where this is going to go. We've got some thoughts, but we want to talk about what's been going on and then come back. On the back end, we are going to answer some guest questions that we've chosen for each other, which I am excited to do. That we're not both going to answer. We're going to get one-on-one. And I have to ask, because I know it's wrapped up, how did the musical go?
It was a lot of fun. Believe we had over 3,000 people come see the show in the 6 shows that we did, which is phenomenal and fantastic. We've had a lot of people told me, maybe they're just being nice, but said the grandparents stole the show. Every time we came out, we stole the scene. I had a lot of fun. My goal was to try and get my fellow grandparents to break. I think I got Grandpa Joe to break 3 times in those 6 shows. Our last few rehearsals, I got him to break constantly because he just was not expecting me to do anything at all, I guess. I called him the Harvey Korman of the 4 of us. Because,
look it up, kids.
Yes, look it up, kids. He was the easiest to break. The rest of us had our moments. I like to think I was more like Tim Conway and could just keep going and get him going, but no, we had a lot of fun. It was a great production. Looking forward to doing a little bit more with the community theater. So next year, they're doing 9 to 5. So I'm pretty excited about that. Don't know if there's a specific role I'm going to go for yet or not. Just, kind of go and have fun with it. It did allow Maggie and I to find 9 to 5 on HBO Max and watch that again. Yes, it is dated. It came out in the early 80s, but it is a fun show. Highly recommend watching the original movie because Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, and Dolly Parton with Dabney Coleman. How can you miss with those 4?
You can't. Interesting. 9 to 5 is an interesting choice. This year, Charlie and the Chocolate Willy Wonka, I don't what the iteration is. That is a much more, I guess, all ages event. I don't see how 9 to 5. Well, what's your daughter going to be able to do in that show?
They flip-flop. So every other year there's a kid-friendly show that kids can be involved in. And then the opposite years they do an adult show. So the adult year last year was something funny happened on the way to the forum.
Okay.
So they flip-flop on those. Yeah. So the kids won't be able to do anything in the show next year, unfortunately. So we'll have to find other ways to express their theater outlets. We've already had requests for another Girl Scout theater camp, which obviously is not at that same scale. There's only so much you can do in a weekend. We'll probably do something with Girl Scouts to help them get that theater bug and other ways. So yeah, it's interesting how they decide on their shows, but it is nice that they, at least every other year, bring out an option for the kids to participate.
2 questions. First off, or I want to reiterate, and maybe the audience will get a kick out of this too. You were the only grandparent that was chronologically aged enough to actually be a grandparent in real life. No?
Both the 2 grandmas, so myself and the other grandmother, we were both of proper age to be grandparents. We're both in our 50s. Okay. The 2 grandfathers were in their 20s.
I didn't know if you were the only one not of that vintage or not, but okay.
The grandfathers were much younger, which was fun to age them. We had some silver hair wax that we put in their hair because they're in their 20s. They have full heads of hair. There was a couple of times Grandpa Joe forgot to get the back of his head, and we're like, dude, you look way too young from the back. We gotta gray that up.
I got that out of the way. I remember when we talked about it, I thought it was humorous. The age discrepancy between you and Grandpa was funny. With 9 to 5, have you seen that show?
I have seen a bootleg copy that's on YouTube.
Because that's really all there is, right? I mean, I was in New York for a training class when it came out, because it came out in 2009, I think.
I think so, yeah.
I remember I was on Broadway, and I saw the sign, and I took a picture because it said music and lyrics by Dolly Parton, and I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. I don't know anybody hey, if anybody's listening that's seen that show, contact us and give us a review or a commentary, because I don't know anybody's ever seen it.
What I could watch of it, it's a bootleg copy, so, it's not great. Allison Janney played the Lily Tomlin character. The others, I didn't know who they were. I'm not up on Broadway actors and actresses. I'm just not. I'm never going to see the original people on Broadway. I'm always going to see the traveling version anyway. Yeah, I would love to hear what people have thought of it. The songs were phenomenal. I mean, it's Dolly, so the songs are fantastic. The Tattletale character, Roz, has 2 fantastic numbers. In the musical version, she's in love with Mr. Hart, so she has a couple of numbers where she sings about her love for him. So I was like, okay, that might be fun to do. I've been able to find some pretty good copies of the songs on good video versions of the songs, so you can kind of see the acting of it and how they play that out, which is actually, those are better quality than the original Broadway version. So sometimes you got to just look for the songs. You're not going to get the in-between stuff. It looks like it's going to be a fun show, so even if I just go see it, I think it'll be awesome.
I hope you have the time, because I know that is an incredibly challenging part. Kudos to you and your entire family. And we've talked about it on the show before, the fact that the community theater is active and vibrant. When you told me the numbers in terms of attendees, wow, that's phenomenal. It really is. And it helps that a lot of the parents came multiple times. We don't have to say that. We just say you had 500 sale tickets plus an episode. Tremendous.
Well, it was kind of funny because someone came and they were like, well, why isn't your husband here? I'm like, well, he came a different night. Well, he's not coming to every performance? No, he's not going to come to every performance.
You've been singing, dancing, well, sitting in a bed and singing anyway and entertaining the masses. You've also been tempting the taste buds of those in the immediate Brookings area with Daily Scoops. Summer's winding down. How are things with business? What's next? What have you learned this summer? What's going on?
Things are progressing. I'm super pumped because the Brookings Chamber is going to host a Coast Starters program where they bring entrepreneurs in and kind of help you get to that next step. I'm waiting for my official acceptance. I shouldn't say that for sure I'm doing it. I did put in my application on the basis of the chamber president telling me to. So I think that was a pretty good sign that I'll be able to participate. So it's a 10-week program. Really hoping that this will just show me what is next. I know there's a market for this. People really enjoy it. People look for me at the farmers market. We have a downtown at sundown. The last one is coming up this week, so I've been to a couple of those. It's ice cream, so if it's hot out, I sell well. If it's not, don't sell as well, because people, you're not thinking about ice cream when it's 65 and a little chilly. You want it to be a little bit warmer. So this Thursday is the last one. So hoping sales go well. I've been supported by Eponymous. Obviously, love them. They let me set up at their booth. So that's I think that will really help sales this week. And yeah, we'll kind of see what's next. It's interesting I had to pay my first sales tax bill.
That's like framing your first dollar bill.
A little bit. Yeah, I should, put that bill up. It's just, it's interesting. You go in and like, okay, well, here's how much money I made. And then they tell you, here's how much you owe us. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. But you pay that quarterly in the state of South Dakota. So it's just interesting. All these little pieces and trying to remember to keep track of everything that I'm spending on it. Because, obviously I'm not making bank this year. This year is definitely going to be a loss, but hopefully next year with his co-starters, I can figure out what we do next and how to take it to the next level and scale up.
Will you be winding sales down then, or winding production down?
Yeah, so Farmers Market goes through the beginning of October, and so I'm working on getting a few more hours purchased at the commercial kitchen here in town. If I have extra, For the winter, I will probably make like a bunch of beer or a bunch of ice cream that we can serve at Eponymous with beer, so we can have some beer float nights. And then I've been toying with the idea of doing some more direct sales where someone says, I would like 2 quarts of this kind of ice cream, or I would like 3 pints of this kind of ice cream, and making it that way. So just trying to see, again, I'm not quite sure what's next. I'm not sure how to make all that work. I know it's possible, but trying to figure out how to do that with having a full-time job.
Are you doing anything pumpkin spice related for the fall?
I have a pumpkin pie ice cream that I pretty much always have some on hand because it's very popular.
I have to tell you, I heard the most disturbing thing today. Talking to my sister, and my niece is a senior in high school. She loves 2 things. She loves Dunkin' Donuts, coffee, and she loves goldfish, crackers. Not the animal.
Right.
Maybe the animal, but the apparently today, when we record this, they have released a collab, Dunkin' Donuts and Goldfish, of pumpkin spice goldfish. And my niece said, it's everything I've lived for, or something to that effect. Like it's her life is all. As I told my sister, though, for a 17-year-old, regardless of what, who and what they are, for a 17-year-old to say my life is complete because there's pumpkin flavored goldfish, like, you're doing okay. That it's not a high-end car or meeting some rock star or whatever. I want pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice gold. Well, okay, so I mean, pumpkin spice is cinnamon, nutmeg. That's pumpkin spice. It's pretty basic stuff. So maybe that wouldn't be so bad. I mean, if you're talking about a pumpkin flavored, that's a little different.
Pumpkin spice is ridiculous. The shenanigans. When I saw pumpkin spice bratwurst, like, I'm out.
No, you don't want cinnamon bratwurst. You don't want cinnamon in your bratwurst, folks. That's just maybe. And I think, to me, the thing that gets me is people are conflating pumpkin and pumpkin spice and putting them together, and they're 2 separate things. And that's where I think a lot of people get. And that's why I called my ice cream pumpkin pie, because I actually put pumpkin in it.
Pumpkin spice goldfish. I guess if you want them, they're apparently out and about somewhere. They exist, according to my niece.
I can see Jessie asking for that if we see those in the grocery store. I can see her, can we try those? I'm like, I hope they sell small containers, because I don't need a whole big thing of pumpkin spice goldfish that nobody's going to eat.
Bag.
Right? Because it's cheddar cheese flavored. Cheese
or
and
pizza or but they have plain ones that are just like oyster crackers, I guess. You could have.
No, they're a little cheesy. There's a little cheese flavor to them. So I don't know. To each their own. If that brings you joy.
I'm not trying them. I don't need them.
If the pumpkin spice goldfish cracker brings you joy, by all means, enjoy it.
Yes. Don't have to send any to us.
Yeah, we don't need any. We're all good. We're all good. Well, John, let's talk about our break a little bit. And a lot of that came from some of the stuff that you've been going through.
Yes, break, literally. This year has been really challenging for the Thurmans. Many of the listeners are aware. I lost my mother back in February. My dad had been doing fairly well with their things. They would have celebrated their 50th anniversary last week. It's been a challenge for all of us. We're all grieving in our own ways, and I've been fortunate enough, though, to be able to go see him a couple times since February and spend a week with him and just hang out and do things, with him that have been nice. July 3rd, he had an accident where he broke his femur. And I'm not talking like crack. I'm talking it looked like something out of a cartoon. The x-ray is one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen. I was told, I guess it was translated to my sister, that kind of break is typically comes from one of 2 things. A gunshot or a high-impact car crash. And he did it stepping up into the choir loft at his church. Oh. Strongest bone in your body. He's been taking bone density pills. Like, the whole thing is just bizarre. It's been a challenge. He spent about a week in the hospital there. I was able to go and spend went at the end of his hospital stay, was there for about 2 weeks as we got him into rehab. And it has been a lot of ups and a lot more downs. Really has struggled with the rehab component and getting well enough to be able to go home. Knowing I was going to be in Louisville for 2 weeks, we talked about it and we said, hey, we're going to take a break from the show. We didn't have things banked. Believe it or not, folks, we don't always record a bunch of stuff ahead of time. And I wasn't going to have time to edit and do the productions and get it out. So we just said, hey, you know what? We've done this for 4.5 years. There are 200 and almost 300 shows available. We're just going to say, hey, summer break, summer vacation, we're out. All of you that have been incredibly supportive, we appreciate it so much. People said, hey, you deserve it. Go do it. I wish I could say I had enjoyed that time away because I really didn't. I think you and I can agree, Wendy, getting old is not the most fun thing in the world, particularly when you have parents that are aging. It has been a challenge. You've had challenges at your place too this year. One of the things that's come out of that is realization that we're trying to find balance. Part of it is changing the priorities of what we do, or at least for me. Most of the listeners that have listened for any period of time know we take great pride in what we do here. We really enjoy doing it. I probably enjoyed it too much and let other things slide. I did. That's come to light over the last many months as well. I'm going to say it because every time I say it and I speak my truth and speak to power, I feel better. I have determined that I'm an alcoholic. Came to this realization last fall when things were really starting to fall apart for me personally. When I told you, I'll never forget, first words out of your mouth, that explains a lot of things. For some of you that are just hearing this for the first time, bear with me. It has been a journey. It continues to be a journey and a process. For those of you that I may have hurt in any way when I was being a jerk, I am sorry for that. You're probably not listening to this show now anyway, if that's the case. I was not a pleasant person to be around in many cases. As my wife would so eloquently point out, Wendy saw the Jon at home recording and doing things. Bottom line was things were not good here. And you know that. And there were a handful of people who were aware of the situation. I'm really fortunate for several things. I'm really fortunate that Heidi gave me an opportunity to straighten things out and get myself straight and to get things straight with her. My boys were incredibly supportive. I did put this out on several social platforms. The outpouring of support was shocking. Like, I was totally blown away, very appreciative. It really does mean a lot. And it's nice to know that if I can help somebody else now, I want to be able to do that. And people have said, appreciate you being so willing to share and tell. And, you know, as I've told you and I've told other people, it's a day by day process. Let's face it. I think the last month has probably been the most challenging in terms of saying things would be so much easier but it won't be. And I know that. I say all this to say that I love all of the listeners, those that have been so supportive. I love our sponsors. Anybody that's taken time to be part of what we do, I'm incredibly thankful for. I just need people to understand, though, that it's not going to be the priority going forward.
And it never should have been.
Never should have been. I was not thinking straight. I was in a cloud for basically 3 years. I own that. I've asked for forgiveness for those that I feel need it, and I've tried to make things amends with my family, and thankfully they have been great, because they could have said, no, we're not going to. They could have. I would have understood. And I will just say this out loud too, that as somebody that never really thought much about therapy, I mean, I thought it was fine if you wanted to do it. I'm a fan. Like, it's really been helpful. If you need help, go seek it. I'm not ashamed. People have come to me directly in private to say what their struggles are. And we're all in this together, right? I mean, that's one of the things that we really worked so hard to do with us as a community, was to make it so that people would be willing to
be a part of the community and help each other.
And help each other. And everybody's been great about that. Again, as you said earlier, it's our show, so we can do it. Put it out there. It's probably not the last time we'll talk about some of these things. I have thought a lot about, and I've talked to other people about, conversations about grief and trauma and some things that are out there that I don't know where those will go yet necessarily, or when that will happen. They probably will happen. I mean, it's something I just feel like, because it's what we want to do with it, we can make it whatever we want. And that's the beauty of this too, is that I can sit here and say these things. I'll edit what I want to edit out.
Cut. We're going to cut this. No, we're not. And I think it's good, Jon, that you've been open and willing to share your story, your struggles, your journey. I did, y'all. I really did. When he told me, I was like, everything makes so much more sense. We're friends. I would count you amongst one of my closest friends, someone that I could go to with a lot of things, but I don't see you every day. I don't see everything in your home. So there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know. Having that come out, it was just, okay, this all makes so much more sense. Especially when I would get angry texts from Jon with copies of somebody wanting to introduce a guest to us.
Yeah.
And just telling Jon, just step away.
I believe I've said it on this show. When you said to me, no is a complete sentence, that hit me in such a way. I use it all the time. I've told other people that. We continue to get inundated with guest requests people that want to get in front of our community for free. And the bottom line is, if we don't know you and you want to sell something, you pay for the privilege. And it's real simple. And thankfully, most people now, I have a patented response or a polite response. And 9 times out of 10, they're super cool. And they'll say, oh, I didn't know. Thank you so much. And every once in a while, you get some jackleg that'll be like, try to push it. Like the person who said, oh, we weren't submitting a guest. We were submitting a podcast. Well, come on. Like, what's the... Okay, so I added one word to my response and sent it back. We don't accept podcast guest submissions. So that's my new response. We don't accept podcast guest submissions. So if you're listening to this and you think you want to send somebody, we don't accept podcast guest submissions.
Bring them into the community. Participate in our chat. Listen and understand what we do and what we talk about before saying this is something that you should talk about on your podcast.
They're sending that to hundreds of shows, and you don't know. The other thing is, don't come to me with, oh, I listen to your show and I do this, that, and the other, and then misspell my name. Come on. John, no H. Like, come on. It is not that hard. It's just not. And if you spend any time with us at all, you would know that. We are back. We are on a regular schedule not only for the podcast, but also with the chats. And we do want to put out that we mentioned a couple episodes, at least an episode or a couple episodes ago, we're going to put trivia nights back into the mix. However, we do have quite a few chats to go before the end of the year. And if you are interested in co-hosting and have a topic that you'd like to discuss with the audience, we would like to talk about that. Unfortunately, the reality is we run out of topic ideas. And it's good sometimes to bring it back. We just brought back a topic we hadn't talked about in a year or so with employee engagement. We enjoy that, and we can change up some of the conversation. However, somebody just approached us recently with a topic we're going to be doing very soon that I don't think we've ever done. And I'm excited about that because it's pertinent and timely. Just something like, hey, we've never thought of doing that. Let's talk. Let's put that together. Those of you that are kind of timid about Twitter chats, you don't have to be a Twitter chat guru for this. We run it. You just come, participate, share your wealth of knowledge, welcome people. You don't have to be on it like Wendy and I do. And most will know, as soon as it's over, I break, I'm done. It's mental gymnastics, but it's fun. And it's hard to believe when, we got to be, I think we're like 80 now. I don't even know. I don't count anymore.
Yeah, I don't count either because there's so many of them. All of them are fun and special. And, the other thing I want to bring up, too, is just because you're not there live with us doesn't mean you can't participate. I always go in Monday morning, and probably even Tuesday morning throughout Monday, and looking for the hashtag to see what else is out there, who else has brought stuff up, and continue that conversation.
Wendy made a great point. You've got to use the tag. I get so many replies from people, and I just say this: if I don't know you and you don't include the tag, I'm not going to reply. I can assume what you're at, but I just don't. But
if there's no context, we're not going to know.
Just use the tag. If you want to co-host, say the word. Shoot us a note. We'd love to talk more. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. This episode of the HR Social Hour Half Hour podcast is brought to you by Namely. We all do our best to keep ahead of business trends, but keeping ahead can be its own full-time job. With everyone wearing multiple hats, it's easy to fall behind. That's why you need to make the switch to Namely, the all-in-one HR solution that adapts with your business. Namely helps you and your team with all aspects of HR, from onboarding and performance management to payroll and intuitive benefits enrollment, whether you have 50 or 1,000 employees, all in one connected and modern platform. Plus, Namely is customizable for your company, culture, and goals, so they can match where you are now and adapt as you grow. Grow with Namely. Learn more about making the switch today by going to namely.com/HRSocialHour. For a limited time, get 1 month free when you make the switch to Namely. That's namely.com/HRSocialHour. Thanks again to Namely for sponsoring the HR Social Hour Half Hour podcast. Now, back to the show. I'm coming back from the break. This is a little bit different. Wendy, I can't remember, and it's hard. I keep a lot of notes, but I don't recall when we first started going with the guest questions. It's been
about a year, year and a half, more than a year. Okay, maybe the beginning of 21 that we started.
Probably been close to 2 at this point that we started that. I lifted that from the AV Club, their old interviews, because it's the AV Club and they did it print interviews, and we did it here because it's fun. And Wendy and I have 4 questions for each other. I'm going to start. Wendy, Lori Gobble asked, what do you think is the most important skill to have or improve on in the post-pandemic, we'll say post, in this hybrid work world that we're now in?
I think the most important skill is the ability to, to flex, the ability to improv a little bit on what's happening and be able to adjust, because you don't know where someone's coming from. You don't know what they're thinking, and being able to connect with people virtually is a skill that a lot of people have had to learn how to do. So being able to kind of flex into that and meet people where they are, I think people have gotten a lot better at that, and kind of sitting back and saying, okay, well, this person's in the office, this person isn't in the office, or even from a home life perspective of being able to flex with what's happening in somebody's home world too. So yeah, I'm going to say be able to flex. All right, John, for you, Rachel Taculad asks, what is your biggest win?
Professionally, it's doing this. When companies that would not interview me years ago now contact me to want to have their executives on, that to me is a tasty win. I really am proud of that fact, and I've had a lot of laughs over not only that, but also people from some of those organizations that contact me asking about how we do certain things, or with my corporate shows now and what I'm doing there. I just think it's really funny, because guess what? I could have been doing that for you. I mean, you didn't want me for whatever reason, maybe I didn't get through the damn recruiters. Who knows? I don't know.
Right.
But so professionally, though,
you didn't get past the ATS.
I didn't get past the ATS. Yes. We should someday do all about our previous interviews. One of the funniest things ever that I ever dealt with was I had an interview with somebody for a labor relations job. I'm starting the conversation, and they asked me some questions about labor relations, about, my duties. If you're familiar working in labor, there's a process, particularly at negotiations, and where you sit at the table and that kind of thing. And so I was talking about I was number 2 at the table, and I did this, that, and the other. 10 minutes in, the person goes, well, John, I do have another question. I said, what's that? What exactly is labor relations? I'm like, all right, well, there's no way I'm getting this job, because the person trying to interview me doesn't even know what the hell they're recruiting for, or interviewing for. What was great was I ran into somebody later, a former president of Richmond SHRM, who was a huge labor person in the Richmond area for many years. And I ran into them at Panera, which was my second office at the time. And I said to them, I had an interview with ABC. And he laughed. He goes, you're never getting that job. And I said, why not? And he goes, because you're not an attorney. You don't have this, that. And he railed off 5 things. And he goes, you don't have any of that. And quite honestly, the guy in charge, he didn't care how long it'll take. It took them 3 years to fill that job. So it wasn't apparently very important, but I just thought it was funny, because he's like, oh, no, you're not. And sure enough, the person, if they didn't have 5 of the things to check, they had 4.5. Like it was ridiculous. But I knew I wasn't qualified for it either. I just knew more. It was solidified to me, though, when the recruiter said, what exactly is labor relation? Oh, no, this is not going to work out. Bonnie Endicott asked, what's your best time management hack?
Honestly, it is reminders in Outlook. Whenever I get an email or, something that has a to-do on it that I don't have to do today, I just need to do it at some point. I put a reminder on it, and then Outlook tells me, usually the next morning, here are the things that you need to do. Because I usually put the reminders at like 7 p.m. same night that I'm scheduling it, so that it pops up in the morning, and I'm like, okay, here are the 3 things that I need to get done today, or the 3 people I need to contact or follow up with. That has saved my butt a lot, because we all know how emails get, and things fall through the cracks. So that's my best hack. Ann Tompkinson asks, if you could ask for career advice from anyone over the course of history, fictional or non-fictional, who would it be and why?
David Brent.
Sorry.
David Brent from the UK office, because let's face it, that guy was a walking mess. Mm-hmm. And yet somehow he maintained a job, and then he left and had a singing career. I think sometimes we ask about what would you do if you went back to start your career. And I know somebody said once, well, I wouldn't do that. I do think about what would be different if I necessarily hadn't, maybe I'd switched jobs, done certain thing like, if I stayed somewhere too long, those kind of things. But I'm not really sure who I would talk to. Who would I emulate? I have very high regard for many of our peers, and I appreciate what they do and how they do it. I don't think that's me, though.
Finding yourself. I like it, because you could at least go in and,
what not to do.
What not to do. How do I not manage people? I'm going to take what you do and not do that. So, yeah, I guess there's value in that.
Okay, Wendy, Namely's own Larry Donovan asked, what advice would you give another leader or practitioner about the one thing you've learned that's been most important in making an impact?
I'm going to go to kind of back to what you said there with you got to be yourself. It's good to get advice from other people. It's good to emulate other folks. But in the end, you have to be true to who you are. You have to have your own voice. And, we're not all the same, and we don't want to all be the same. So, yeah, I'm going to pick on Kate. Love Kate Bischoff to death. She is a phenomenal woman. I love hanging out with her. If I were living a different life, maybe I'd want to emulate her a little bit more. But I don't see myself out there driving helicopters or learning to drive a helicopter as my hobby. She's a little more on the wild side than I am, so I live vicariously through her. I don't need to be her. I just need to be me, and I need to have make sure my voice is out there as well. So that's probably the best advice, is that everyone's voice has meaning out there.
Gee, where have we heard that before?
Oh, I don't know. Since you are such a fan, Sarah Noel Wilson asks, what has become clearer for you now than it was 2 years ago?
Certainly still the number one fanboy non-related of Sarah Noel Wilson. Sobriety has made a lot of things clearer in the last almost year for me. As we talked about earlier, reprioritizing and understanding what's truly important, and that while this show is important and special, it is not the important thing in my life or yours or anybody else's for that matter. It shouldn't be. If it's somebody else's, that's kind of creepy.
That's very creepy.
Like I said, just the general prioritization and understanding, particularly this year with significant loss in the family, it has compounded that and really helping to understand that and what's important. Recent guest, and I still say a plant, Bonnie Natco asked, what kind of toppings are you going to use for a sundae if you're having a sundae made? We're not using your ice cream. Well, I guess we could. It's just, how are you going to make your sundae?
I am not a put everything on. So, you go to those frozen yogurt places where you can add all your own toppings, and some people add like everything. I tend to go with a theme if I'm going to do that. But my go-tos are going to be like fudge and caramel, maybe some nuts, maybe some Reese's peanut butter cups if they've been crushed up nicely. I tend to keep it pretty traditional when I go to that. Now, I might pick an off-the-wall ice cream if I were to call out my Banana Foster ice cream. If we get a nice spicy rum vanilla and then put some caramel with bananas and walnuts on it. Yeah, that would be good. That would be good. Another recent guest, and just because this question makes me laugh, Matt Stolick asks, top sheet or no top sheet?
Top sheet, all the way. Preferably tucked in, relatively snug.
You like them snug?
I like that feeling of security, yes.
Oh, okay.
We always appreciate the questions.
Yes.
I have one more. We've unfortunately not been able to do a pop culture roundtable this year for a lot of reasons. But I wanted to ask you, one podcast, book, album, TV show, something in the last many months that has really been a hit for you.
I've been doing a lot of rewatching of stuff, but I'm going to go with Ms. Marvel, the recent TV series. I really enjoyed it. I love the travel back in time to Pakistani culture, learning actually about some of that history that I never knew. It was fascinating. I think Disney and Marvel did a great job with that storytelling. I have been a huge fan of their recent limited series. I think they've done a great job with all of them. It really shone out a lot when I saw the latest Doctor Strange movie. I didn't like it.
No, not great.
It didn't tell a story, and I think that they have been doing such a good job telling the stories in these 6-episode series. They're missing something in the movies. So I'm hoping that the Marvel's movie continues the storytelling that they started with Ms. Marvel. We all enjoyed it. We all enjoyed that series in my house. So, how about you?
Yeah, so one thing this year has blown me away. First off, I've forgotten how good it could be, and that's Beavis and Butthead. They are back. It's on Paramount Plus. The movie was Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. The premise as to how they time travel from 1998 to 2022 is a riot. It is so funny. And then there's a new TV show. Like, there's a new season. I've been a Mike Judge fan since Beavis and Butthead. King of the Hill was amazing. Idiocracy really is one of the scariest movies ever made in terms of how accurate it is. Office Space, for crying out loud, we still want to do a movie night about Office Space. Everything Mike Judge does is tremendous. There's an episode in this new season It's Beavis and Fire. Butthead's not in it. Beavis has a conversation with Fire for 10 minutes. It is a scream. And they do reaction videos. They do music videos, the YouTube stuff. There's a BTS video where, if you like Beavis and Butthead, it is so much better than the show that came out 10 years ago, the MTV one that came out where they did reality TV. Those were just not very good, I didn't think. The first 2 episodes in this new season are tremendous. And Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. It's probably better than Beavis and Butthead Do America, which I thought was good at the time. This is as good, if not better. It's cool.
For Beavis and Butthead fans out there,
for Beavis and Butthead,
I have heard that same thing from other folks that were fans back in the day, and they are really enjoying it. I wasn't a fan; it wasn't for me,
and that's okay. I just think it's frightening that 30 years ago that show banned any commentary about fire because of what they perceive people behaved in ways. The fact that there's now a segment where he talks to Fire and has a conversation, and it's all about him, even as like a 3-year-old. There's a shot of him at 3 years old blowing out the birthday candles, and Fire's talking to him then. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. If you're into that.
Love it. Hey, good. The thing about it is that's what I love about the content that's out there right now, is that there's choice for everyone. There's something out there for everybody. It's not like back in the day when there were, 3 channels.
It's funny that you mentioned the Miss Marvel show, because I've heard really good things about it. Everybody knows I haven't read comics in a long time. This year, the Batman was phenomenal. So much better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, Doctor Strange was, no, not for me. Spider-Man, did Spider-Man, what else came out this year? I can't remember.
Spider-Man.
I didn't see Thor yet.
It's okay.
Beta Ray Bill's not in it, so I was like, I can see it on video. It's not something I have to go.
No, you don't need to see that in the theater. It's not appointment viewing. It was fun. I just didn't care as much.
That bumps me out. I want it to be as Ragnarok was tremendous.
Ragnarok is still the best. It's better than Thor 2.
Oh, well, that's not saying much.
Which isn't saying much.
That was not great.
I don't know where. I don't know where it is. Like Thor 1 is better, or this one's better. This one was more fun than Thor 1. I'll say that much.
Thor 1's a Shakespeare movie. It's Kenneth Branagh directing.
It was Shakespeare. This one's it's definitely more fun. Rocky and I have had some conversations on whether or not it's even canon. It might not be because of how they set up the storytelling. Which, hey, even if it's not
Jane
canon,
became
it's still fun.
Thor in the comics, so that part really happened in comics.
Yeah. I did like that. I did like Natalie Portman as the Mighty Thor. I didn't really enjoy that whole story arc that they did throughout the whole movie, but I did enjoy Natalie Portman as the Mighty Thor. I will say that much.
The good news is there's even more to come. All these things that we do enjoy, you don't have to like it all. It fascinates me that people get upset when you don't like something that they like. And I had friends that were irate that I didn't like all of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Guess what? It was not a great show. Sorry. For last 2 episodes, tremendous.
Yeah.
The rest of it,
It was interesting. There's a few parts that I was like, wait, what happened? That's a plot hole right there.
That show didn't get good until the last 2 episodes.
The last 2 were great. Yeah.
That last episode in particular, when you saw arguably 2 of the greatest Force wielders at the peak of their power, the one thing in that show that timeline-wise that bugs me, now I know age-wise it works, but we're supposed to believe that 9 years passes, he goes from looking like he did then to looking like Alec Guinness. Like Alec Guinness didn't. I mean, I understand that's about time-wise, age-wise, it's accurate. That part was the hardest thing to swallow. Was like, man, desert life would really be that.
How rough? Well, you're living out in the desert. You're not around people.
Yeah. He didn't cut up meat anymore. That was like my favorite part. That was one of the silly things. Working on that rotted dinosaur thing, cutting meat every day. How's he going to feed his animal if he's not working? Like, come on. Well, we've covered a lot. This has been a tremendous conversation. We always go longer than a half hour. And hey, guess what? We can do that. We've been serious. We've been silly and everything in between. And that's why I like doing these so much.
Me too.
People listening at this point ought to know how to get in touch. But if they don't, Wendy, best way for them to get in touch with you?
Best way is on my blog, mydailyjourney.com. And then, of course, the second and fourth Sunday of each month, you'll find me on Twitter, 7 p.m. Eastern Time as part of our twice monthly Twitter chat. How about you, John?
Once again, thanks Namely for sponsoring this episode in the entire month of August. namely.com/HR Social Hour to learn more. And as for me, JonThurman.com for all things Jon Thurman. And for the show, HR Social Hour Podcast.podbean.com. Listen, rate, review, share, and follow. You'll get those new episodes each and every week. We are committing to that. International listeners, we'd love to talk to you about ice cream or movies or HR stuff.
Whatever you want to talk about.
Whatever you might have an interest in that we think would be pertinent to the community, we'd love to talk more. It is easier for you to get in touch with us than for us to get in touch with you. Reach out and we'll start those conversations. Well, Wendy, we've talked to each other again, and I'm sure we'll do it more down the road. I will say thank you, and thank you for all the support in the last many, many months. So, for the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast, I'm Jon.
And I'm Wendy. And as always, be sure to connect,
give back, and
network.
Take care, everybody.
We'll see you soon.